Hello and welcome to the scientific method. This is also considered to be the nature of science. In other words, how do scientists, what tool do they use to get all of their work done? And we're gonna realize that not just scientists use this, but everyone uses this, perhaps subconsciously. You use it to make decisions every day. Do I go left or right down the hallway today after class? Do I wear one kind of perfume or one kind of deodorant, or do I wear another kind? You make decisions based upon research, and then you hypothesize by saying, oh, I'm going to use this deodorant because it's going to do the best job for me. And then you test it. You actually put the deodorant on and you go out to school and you see if it works. If it doesn't work, then you know that your hypothesis was wrong. And if you find out that it does work, you find out your hypothesis was right. And that's your conclusion. So that's how you use the scientific method all the time. Now, for many of us, this is going to be a review of these 6 parts. But we all need to know this for the assessments that come up and to understand how scientists get all this information that we're going to be learning about, okay? All right. So what is the scientific method? So you'll see on your guided notes packet that you have to fill out all of these, just the blanks, okay? So I've done most of the work for you. You just need to fill in the blanks. So make sure that you're keeping up with that as we go along. And if for some reason you don't finish, this link for this video that you're seeing right now is on Google Classroom. And that's how you're going to submit these notes, by taking, making them into one file, one PDF file using a scanner program on your phone, or if you have a scanner hooked up to your computer, whatever you want to use. And then you're going to submit to Google Classroom that way. You just let me know if you have any problems, okay? So organized way. It's an organized way. You can't really break from this organization because, and that's why I said it helps anyone. Even though you don't think you're doing this scientifically, all of your decisions are made using this process, okay? And it's to solve a problem. You have a problem. My armpits smell at school. What am I going to do about it? That's my problem, right? So here are the steps. You fill in the blanks. Question the problem. Question and problem are the same thing, okay? Research. So after you have that question, so let's say my armpits are smelling. That's my question, that's my problem. My research is, hey friend, what deodorant do you use? And they tell you, hey, this works for me. And then you go out and buy it. See, that's your research. So you do research too, you just don't realize it. Part 3 is hypothesis. So then you hypothesize. You come up with a possible explanation to your problem. And then you experiment, you test it, you collect data to support or refute, that's the opposite of support, your hypothesis. And then you organize and analyze that data. Now scientists will do it with graphs and charts, okay, which we'll learn about too. And then they make a conclusion. A conclusion. That is not properly spelled. Sorry, there's no G on there. Just conclusion. And the conclusion is going to be shared with other people so that they can either repeat your experiment or just learn from it, okay? So what is a question or a problem? Seems kind of basic, right? That's why Homer's here. He's pretty basic, at least mentally. So it's an open-ended question. It's not a yes or no question ever. How does the type of music affect plant growth? Hey, a biology question. Well, I guess armpit stink is also a biology question, right? Whatever. So if I want, this has been done many times and it's always proven to be false. The hypothesis is always refuted. So if you say that certain kind of music will help plants grow, it's always been proven wrong. So you can do the research yourself if you want to, but people still want to know, does music help my plants? Talking to them helps because you're breathing carbon dioxide on them and they love carbon dioxide, but music doesn't help. Okay, So what's a hypothesis? It's based on research. I just said that. We know that hypotheses, plural of hypothesis, is based on research. It's testable. It has to be a testable explanation. It can't be something that is not testable. Like so-and-so is the most handsome boy in the school, or so-and-so is the most beautiful girl in the school. That is not testable. It's an opinion. Okay? So if it's not measurable, then it cannot be scientifically proven. So it's what you think is going to happen. It's a possible explanation to your question. It's written as an if-then-because statement. And I'll give you an example down here at the bottom. So I'll just give it to you. It's right here. It's in your notes. If country music is played, if I play country music to my plants, then the plant will grow taller because, and I just made this up, it sounds good, because country music has a higher range of tones. I don't know if that's true, but you would find the difference between one music and the other, and you could pick that and you could test that and see if that makes a difference, okay? Now, this is very important. A lot of students seem to think that your hypotheses have to be correct or you're a bad student. That is not the case. I would say that most of the time, hypotheses are incorrect, and that is okay, because you are learning from knowing that that's not the answer, okay? Just like when you guys answer a question that I ask you in class, we learn from that wrong answer. It's very important to accept that and not think that it's wrong to have a negative hypothesis, okay? So how are experiments designed? I know your notes are laid out a little bit better than this on the packet. Something happened when I transferred them onto here. So anyway, there are two variables all the time. There's the independent variable and the dependent variable. The independent variable is what I change in the experiment, okay? So in the plant experiment that we just talked about with the music, I'm going to change the type of music. That's the only thing I'm going to change. Everything else stays the same, okay? So what I change is independent of everything else. That's where the word comes from. And the dependent variable, you can say, depends upon the independent variable. It's the thing that I measure, like plant growth. So, and this is a very important thing, the dependent variable depends upon the independent variable. What I change will change the dependent variable when I measure it. Or it won't, because your hypothesis was wrong, okay? Or it'll change it in a way that you didn't expect. That's why science is so cool. Because for everything that we learn through scientific method use, we have 10 more questions. That's a rough estimate, but for everything we learn, there's 10 more. Okay, we learned this, but why? And so that's why this is important to continue our knowledge as the human race to go forward, okay? So, and there are two groups always, two variables and two groups. There's the experimental group that says experimental, it's behind there. And so that's the group that receives the independent variable. That's the group that I'm changing something to. So these are the plants that I am exposing to music. And then there's the control group. If you remember, the control group literally means you are controlling what's happening to it. You're not letting anything outside affect it. You're just going to leave it au naturel. You're going to leave it a normal or no change. I guess that's supposed to say change. It's in your notes. So how are experiments designed? Continue. This is the next slide. And this is also in your notes. So this is slide 7, if you're wondering where we are. The slides are always down here. Slide numbers. So control groups are important because they are, wait for it, a comparison. You are looking at what you're not touching. You're looking at what nature would provide when you, the scientist, are making an unnatural change to the other ones, just to make sure that, to check yourself. It's like a checks and balances. You're making sure that there is no mistake in your results, okay? Help scientists compare to reach the conclusion. Without control groups, how would you know if your treatments had any effect? So if I had 20 plants and I tested all the plants and then I measured all the plants' length, I have nothing to compare them to if I didn't play music to the plant. What's the difference? Maybe the music makes the plants grow shorter. I don't know. Maybe it makes the roots grow longer and the leaves grow no different. So, or maybe it makes the stems thicker. It could be an unexpected result when you do an experiment. So we're going to watch this Bounty paper towels commercial, and we're going to see if you can answer the question.
Baking soda. Then we put the vinegar. Scientific explorations in the kitchen? Bring it. It started bubbling. Because new Bounty is 25% thicker quilts, it cleans the mess with less. Then you know what, Teddy? It exploded. Yeah, it hit the ceiling. In lab tests, Bounty absorbs twice as much as the bargain brand. And it's more durable. It was really cool. Why use more when you can use less? New Bounty, the even thicker, quicker.
So now that we've watched the video, the little Bounty commercial, which group was the control group? Was it the other brand or the Bounty brand? Okay. Oh, I forgot. Control. Oh yeah, that was already there. The bargain brand, right. The bargain one was where they didn't do anything. They were comparing it to that. And then of course, the independent variable group, the one that they changed, the experimental group, was the Bounty, okay? And they used it to compare the two. And that's where comparison comes from, okay? So how are experiments designed continued? So this is continuing on slide 8, that's where we are in our notes for reference. Only test one variable. If you test more than one variable, you will not know which one made the change. So if I play country music and rap music to my plants and I see a change, I'll never know. That's two variables, country music and rap music. I'll never know which one made the difference, okay? So all other variables must remain constant, which means the same. So in the plant growth, it's going to be like amount of water, sunlight, how much dirt, how much fertilizer I give them, how much airflow they get. They must be the same species of plant. They must be the same age plant. All of those things have to be kept constant so that there's only one variable, because that's the thing that you're looking to see is going to make a change or not. So again, our example with the plants and the music, that's a jade plant. Really neat succulent plant. It's related to like cactuses. So in our example with the plants and the music, which one is the independent variable? What do we change? And if you're thinking the music, then good. And the dependent variable, the thing that depends upon the independent variable, is the plant height. Right, the measured plant height, the growth, okay? The experimental group, the group of plants receiving the music, the control group, is the group that receives nothing extra, just what everything else gets, no music, okay? And then the constants, again, like I said, are the species of plant, the amount of sun, how much water and nutrients, the volume of the music. That's something that I didn't mention before, but yes, you can't have louder music here and softer music here. So you can't have the speaker at one end of your row of plants and no speaker at this end, because that's a difference in volume. That's another variable. You can't have that. And the time the music is played each day. Is it played in the morning before the sun comes up? Is it played in low light, high light in the middle of the day, or at the end of the day when the processes of photosynthesis are shutting down? Okay, so how do we collect data? So now we've done our experiment on these plants, and we're doing the experiment, and we're collecting data. And that data, again, is the dependent variable, the thing that's being measured, the height of the plants. So it's collected and organized into tables, like graphs and charts. Graphs are used to condense a whole bunch of data. I could take lists and lists of data and compress them into a nice, concise chart or graph for everyone to be able to understand and read. Clearly and effectively communicate important points of my conclusion. And they have an x-axis, which is always horizontal, and a y-axis, which is always vertical, okay? The independent variable is always placed on the x-axis, on the bottom, okay? And therefore, the dependent variable, the thing that you're measuring, is always placed on the y-axis, okay? And you remember why, because the y has this long tail that goes down, just like the side of a graph, goes down. That's where the y always goes, or the dependent variable always goes on the y-axis. So it looks like this. So you're supposed to label this, all right? So label on your notes, there's boxes for the y-axis. You label that y-axis, dependent variable, and then x-axis, the independent variable, okay? And then, of course, the title is always going to be the effect of, that's not the number 4 in Roman numerals, that's independent variable, on the dependent variable, okay? The effect of independent variable on the dependent variable. Now, of course, that's not going to be the actual title. You're going to say the effect of music on plant growth. You see? The effect of deodorant on ability to attract the opposite sex. I don't know, okay? Which going back to the deodorant example from earlier. So that's how you would title your graph. You're not going to make it something that nobody would understand, like growing plants with headphones. That doesn't make any sense. You see, so you have to make it make sense. You have to use the independent variable and the dependent variable in your graph. And what are the types of graphs? There's bar graphs, there's line graphs, there's pie charts, there's a whole bunch of other different kinds, but the main kinds that we're going to see in our biology lessons, the kinds that we're going to have to make and to be able to read are bar graphs and line graphs, just like this. So bar graphs are simply categories with numbers on the side. And here you have your independent versus your dependent variables. So the thing that you're measuring is your the bubbles per minute is the thing you're measuring, and this is just how deep you're putting the plant. So number of bubbles produced per minute by plant in various depths of water. So they put plants in water in that experiment, and then they counted the number of bubbles of the oxygen gas coming out of the leaves into the water when they expose them to sunlight. Really neat experiment. So what's the conclusion? Now we're at the end of the scientific method. We're not end of the notes yet. You can see the notes are kind of long. This addresses the question. This pretty much answers the question, but you have to base it on the facts, the evidence in the data that you collected from the experiment. If you don't, it's just an opinion. You have to refer to the evidence and the data that you collected. And it states whether or not your hypothesis was rejected or supported, okay? So why do scientists share results? Why don't the scientists keep everything to themselves? Like, you know, I did all this work. This is all my information. I'm not going to share it. Unless you're an evil scientist like Dr. Doofenshmirtz or something like that, you're not going to do that. You didn't go into science to keep information to yourself. You went into science to help humanity. And if your goal in this class is, in life, in general, is to be a help to humanity rather than a hindrance to humanity, like a drug dealer or something like that, or a thief, so anything else is pretty much a help to humanity. So whether you're working in a restaurant, you know, waiting tables, or whether you're a lawyer or a doctor, it doesn't matter, you're helping society. So anything that you learn should go to everybody, you know what I mean? To help everyone, to help humanity become better. And that's why scientists become scientists. They do it in their little field: marine biology, oceanography, meteorology, astronomy, medical science, all of the different sciences, psychiatry, to help humanity in general. And that's why they do it, okay? And they publish their experiments in peer-reviewed journals. So journals that are in their fields of study, and they're looked at by other scientists, peers, to make sure that everything is legit and sounds right. Sometimes non-legit ones slip through. So why retest? Oh, I think I may have skipped something. Just this whole thing about science textbooks down here. So we're going to be using our science textbook once in a while. It's yellow. It's got a B on it. I've got a copy over there on the desk. You can look at it if you want to, but we're going to have a class set. They'll be over here against the wall, and we'll use them once in a while, but not too often, not like every day. So anyway, science books are made by scientists doing all of the experiments, collecting all that data, and then it's looked at by others and then organized into that book. So why retest? Why isn't one test good enough? Hey, I did this test on plants and I got half the plants grew. So therefore, music, particularly country music, makes plants grow. And I did it all by myself. Here's my data. Here's my results. And should we take that at face value? Should we take just what I did in my little corner of some lab somewhere or my basement as fact? No. People have to back it up. Multiple people have to back it up and get the same results. If they don't get the same results and they're getting different results, then I probably made a mistake, you see. So we can't put all of our factual beliefs in one person. We have to spread it out and make sure that multiple people get the same answer. That's why it's retested, to ensure the results are reliable and valid. So tips to improve your experiment. So if you did an experiment with the plants and the music, you could conduct more trials. So, okay, I did 20 plants. Maybe if I did 50 plants, I'd get better results. Much better, okay? Increase the sample size, like I just said, test it on more subjects. Break everything down and do it again. If I do it again and get the same results, that looks good. That's looking better, looking more believable. So here's some questions for you. What is the first step of the scientific method? Which variable is the one that's changed? A testable explanation for an experiment is a what, and so on and so forth. I'm not going to read them all. You know how to read. The answers are going to pop up on the screen, but I'm not going to show them to you, okay? So I want you to work on these in class right now, and we'll go over them at the end. We'll compare them at the end, okay? So I'm going to fast forward through the answers. Okay, so here we are at slide 17, scientific method practice. And so you're going to work on this the same as the last slide. You're going to work on this one. So Louisa wonders if Miracle-Gro fertilizer helps plants grow taller. And so she's going to do an experiment. You're going to read this, and you're going to answer these questions based upon what we've just learned from the notes. So just go back into your notes, and virtually all the answers are there. You just have to kind of work it out with what she did. And you're going to work on this with the people at your desk when these notes are over, okay? And the same one for this one. Question 2, Aaron has 3 plants. He thinks the more he waters the plants, the more flowers he'll have. So he's going to be doing different volumes. His independent variable is going to be, the thing he changes is going to be different volumes of water, okay? So I answered the first one for you here, but you get it, right? So you just answer all these questions in your notes based upon the scenario and work that out with the people at your desk, okay? All right, so how are observations different from inferences? Observations, this is the second part of the notes, are done with your senses. So smell, touch, hearing, all those things. And so that's how you're going to observe a scenario, a situation, anything that you may see. You're going to make an observation. Now, an inference is a little bit different. And an observation is just, hey, that guy has a brown hat. Okay? An inference is, his hat is brown because he wants to blend in to the leaves. I don't know. Okay? It's a possible explanation for why I'm seeing something. So right now in your notes, you are going to do that for this picture. We're going to do this one together so that you understand the next part, the next one that you have to do on your own. Okay? So list 2 observations that you can get from this picture. It's pretty clear. Observations is that the apples fell off the tree. The apples are no longer on the tree. That's simply, I'm not telling you why, I'm not explaining it, I'm just observing something. See the difference? Okay. Another observation is the electrical lines are broken. Observation. Observation. One house is wrecked, one house is not. I didn't explain any of it. I made no inferences. Now that's 3 observations. We're only supposed to do 2. Let's do 2 inferences based of those observations, okay? So I'm going to say that the apples fell off of the trees because there was an earthquake that shook the ground and broke the ground. Same thing with the wires. Now, a different inference for the house could be, there was more shaking on this side of the crack than on that side, which caused this house to fall before the other one, fall first, okay? So those are inferences, possible explanations of my observations. So you're gonna do this one as well, based upon what we did. You're gonna use observations and inferences, this is in your notes, and you're gonna fill in the blanks, okay? You may not have time to do this in class today, so that's why this is not due today. It's not due till Sunday, actually. These notes are due Sunday, but it says so on Google Classroom. So you're gonna do the same thing here. You're gonna fill in the blanks. All right, how are theories different from laws? Okay, so we're moving on to the next subject here. A theory is an explanation. It's kind of like an inference, but with a lot more work, okay? An inference is almost like a guess. So because you need to use the scientific method to get a theory. If my hypothesis can turn into a theory, okay, we're gonna see that. Confirmed through observations and multiple experiments, not just one experiment, but multiple times and multiple people, then you get a theory. Examples are theory of natural selection, germ theory, cell theory. We're going to learn about those 3 in this class. We're not going to learn about theory of relativity. You would have to take some advanced physics course probably or something for that one. But we will do the theory of chromosomal inheritance. So how does mom and dad pass their genes on to offspring, okay? When we talk about genetics. That's pretty fun. Actually, I like that. So it's the why. It's why is something happening in the world that we see. And it can be modified and improved upon. That's important. Theories can change when new facts arise. So someone does another experiment on something else, and they find new facts. They apply those facts to the theory, and the theory can change. Okay? Laws can't. Laws don't. Okay? A law is a detailed description, usually mathematic, of how something happens. It's not the why, it's the what. That's the difference. We'll talk more about that in a minute. So it's a statement based upon repeated experiments, just like a theory, and of observations describing a phenomenon of nature. like gravity, for example. The old myth that Newton got hit in the head with an apple, that was wrong, actually. He just saw an apple fall and came up with the idea of gravity. So this is the what, not the why. The why is a theory. Why and why. Theory with a why with a y. This is the what with an A, law with an A. That's how you can compare the two. And remember, describes an observation, usually mathematical. Examples, Newton's law of gravity, Mendel's law of independent assortment. We're going to learn about that. The ideal gas law, if you took chemistry or are going to take chemistry, you'll learn about the ideal gas law. And the law of conservation of mass, the law of conservation of energy. We don't really touch on those, I don't think, too much in biology, but definitely in physical science you would have last year. And if you take chemistry or physics, you're going to learn more about those as well. So it's important to know, many people think that a theory can become a law. That never happens, okay? A theory will never become a law. So facts, laws. You get theories from testing hypotheses, and when you test new hypotheses, the theories can change. The law is not going to change. You can't change the facts. Fact's a fact. So here's an example showing the difference. If I drop a pencil, okay, if I drop a pencil, it will fall. It's a fact. It's not going to go up. If that floated, that'd be really cool, right? A law is I can mathematically describe the natural phenomenon of what is happening here. What, okay? So how fast it will accelerate towards the floor because of the mass of the pencil and the distance between where I drop it from and all that stuff I can do mathematically. That's the law of gravity. Okay? Why? Hypothesis. Force pulling on the pencil, gravity, okay? Structure of the universe makes massive things fall toward each other. Massive meaning not like microscopic, okay? Not like tiny things like particles, like atoms, okay? Bigger than that. I don't know about that word magnetically. I don't know how that got in there. Magnets are different forces than gravity. Okay, magnets are not gravity. As a matter of fact, nobody knows what a magnet is. Not even a physicist knows what a magnet is. They know how to make a magnet, but they don't know what that force is. It's pretty amazing that we don't know that yet. So it helps to eliminate bad hypotheses by conducting lots of experiments by different people. We talked about that already. And so you've got a theory of relativity versus the law of gravity. They are related to each other, but the theory of relativity changes with new facts, with new evidence. The law of gravity won't change. It's a fact, okay? It's a fact in itself. Oh, there's the pencil. There's the animation of the falling pencil, but it's better when I do it. And that's Einstein. And this is what large objects do to the fabric of space-time. They bend it and warp it. It's really kind of interesting. I have a book on it over there, Stephen Hawking's book. If you're ever interested in something like learning about this in like normal words and not like math, I'll let you borrow that book. It's really awesome. Okay, so you're going to do this as well later on, not right now. If we have time at the end of the class, you'll work on this. Otherwise, you'll do this later, okay? And so you're going to fill in based upon these definitions, the why and the what. Why, what with an A, okay? That's a hint on how to remember which one's which, okay? And then the last part of our notes is also here. So this is all just true, false. So just do a true, false thing and work on this as well. And that's the end of the notes. This is Thomas Edison. Sorry, I didn't look at it, I had to think about it. He said, I have not failed. So when your hypothesis is wrong many times, I've just found 10,000 ways that won't work. Okay, so you're actually learning when you're not succeeding. Okay, but the whole process is to keep going forward. All right. If you look at the words of wisdom today, it says, "I know that I do not know." Socrates said that. So accepting the fact that there's more for you to know makes you a person who has able to grow, okay? And be something more than you are today. Thank you very much. That is the end of our notes.